Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Doug and I'm back with another fountain pen review. Today we're going to look at another handmade Italian pen that has ties to the much loved Italian pen brand Delta. This is the... where is it?
My pen! My pen! My pen!
Pardon my microphone. Well, that's my winged son. That's my moon man. Oh, that's my... oh, I wonder where that went. Oh, here it is. This is the Maiora Impronte Terra Oversize. In Italian, Impronte Terra means footprints in the earth. Well, technically that would be Impronte sulla terra. But that would make the pen the Maiora Impronte sulla terra Oversize. That would almost beat the Italian pen name length record of Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande Dark Hawaii. And just to give you a little teaser, you'll be seeing that Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande Dark Hawaii in a video review in a few weeks, because I snagged one for 20% off on Fonteplumo's Black Friday sale. Yay for me. This Impronte is an oversized pen. It is very grand in size and has some very interesting features, as well as a gorgeous Italian acrylic resin. So let's take a closer look at this Italian beauty right now. So this is an NIPD, or a New Italian Pen Day. I ordered this pen from Applebaum exactly a month ago, and it's interesting that now they're just shipping the Applebaum box. The Applebaum box, this big green thing, used to come in a bigger box, so that's good that they're cutting down on their expenses. Let's open it up. Ow!
My finger. Well, you must stop the bleeding. You're too woozy to tie the tourniquets. Well, I think I'm going to go to sleep now. Bon appetit.
More stroopwafel. Again, this kind of packaging is really much appreciated. That big box from Applebaum and this wonderful gift wrapping. You know, you didn't even say that this was a gift, but you could order from Applebaum, take it out of the box, and put it under a Christmas tree or give it away as a birthday gift or a anniversary gift or whatever, and it's already beautifully wrapped for you. And I'm going to take that beautiful wrapping, I'm going to destroy it. This is my first Maiora Italian pen. Very, very busy fountain pen motif.
And now, if you dare, look into the hypnotic eye.
And it says Terra OSB. So this is my broad, my first Maiora, and there's some interesting history of Maiora and its relationship to Leonardo. So let's open this up. And we have an interesting plastic and foam box. The Maiora pamphlet. In Italian and English. Impronte. And let's see how we can negotiate this. Interesting. Black plastic bottom.
They're solid plastic, so don't settle for imitation.
Clear acrylic top with elastic bands holding the whole thing together with a foam insert in the inside. Very creative, interesting packaging. Well, I thought that would come loose and I could use it as a hair thingy. Just look on the couch, you can find all kinds of hair thingies.
Hey guys, there's a red thingy moving toward the green thingy.
What?
Red thingy moving toward the green thingy. I think we're the green thingy.
So that's not a piece of paper, that's actually silk screened on the back of that piece of plexiglass. And here is the pen. And it is indeed an oversize. I like that clip. It's got some very interesting detail to it. Look at that. Conic finial. This is the Terra. This looks way different than the photographs. It is a lot more translucent than I thought it was going to be, and it's a lot darker than I thought. It was a lot more brown in the photograph. Very interesting section. That's still condensing. It's water droplets and a little bit of ink, because I asked Applebaum to tune that nib for me. And this is a captive converter. You can see that there's a little bit of water. There's probably more water in this pen than I'd want it to have, being transported in the winter time. That section is unique. So in the meantime, I'm going to ink this pen up and write with it for about a week, and then do a review. I'm looking forward to this. What ink should I put in it? We'll see. So what I'd like to do today is go over the parts and features of this pen, show some size comparisons, some measurements, and then provide a writing sample. And after the writing sample, please stay tuned, as I will talk about what I like and what I don't like so much about this pen. I mentioned in the introduction that Maiora has ties to the beloved Italian fountain pen company Delta. Delta went out of business a couple of years ago, and I've never held a Delta pen, but from everyone I've spoken to in pen clubs and in pen forums, the Delta pens were highly regarded and are now quite collectible. Delta was a fountain pen company founded by three men, Ciro Matrone, Nino Marino, and Mario Muscente, in 1982 and disbanded in 2017. Ciro Matrone went into business with his son Salvatore and daughter Maria Francesca and formed Leonardo Officina Italiana. Nino Marino founded Maiora, which has also revived the Nettuno brand. This might be the reason why there are some interesting similarities between Maiora, Delta, and Leonardo. Matrone and Marino are also very creative with their names. Of course, Leonardo, while adopting the name of one of the most brilliant Italian Renaissance artist, inventor, and engineer, Leonardo da Vinci, named the first model created under the new company's name Momento Zero, or the first moment. I get what the Matrones are saying. The Renaissance or rebirth of an artist, inventor, engineer, and the first piece is the first moment of the future. However, Maiora isn't Italian. It is actually Latin for greater, and the Impronte Terra is Italian for footprints in the earth. It is very evocative of the great strides into the future of pen design. As to Nettuno, which is Italian for Neptune, that company was started in 1911 and revived by Marino when he started Maiora in 2018. So now let's get to the Impronte Terra. The acrylic is much more beautiful in person than in photos. I was surprised at the chatoyancy and the translucency of this finish. I also thought it was going to be more of a brown color overall, but it is definitely a wonderful collection of colors. It is a cracked ice style acrylic resin where the amber parts are translucent and the blue parts are opaque but chatoyant. It is like I crushed up an amber as a cat and a galaxy and mooshed the chips all together into a cracked ice pattern.
I should say half a enough. Frank Sinatra?
Well, that's right. He paints.
That's right. I think he sings, too. You know, it's too bad you schmutzed it up.
From the top, we see a conical-shaped finial, and then a gold metal clip emerges directly from the inside of the cap. The clip is very springy as it pivots on that extended metal piece from partway down the clip. The clip itself is an elegantly designed triangular shape with two steps. The bottom portion has a frosted metal surface, and the top portion is shiny. It is nicely designed and engineered and very functional, as well as very attractive. The cap tapers up rather dramatically, giving the overall top of the pen a pronounced triangular shape and flare. And then we come to a single thin gold metal cap band, and then the acrylic continues for another 4 millimeters or so to a well-rounded cap edge. Then there is a rather large step down to the barrel, which starts to taper immediately for about 2.5 millimeters to another single thin gold metal band, and then the barrel continues the steep taper that has a very slight arch to it until another thin gold band, which separates the barrel from the blind cap, which continues to taper down to a conic point end finial. And the barrel is engraved, if I can find it here, is engraved Maiora, Italy, Terra, and 3008. This is a numbered but not a limited edition. Just a note here, each one of these thin gold metal bands are not precisely flush with the acrylic. You can feel them with your fingers, and although not visible with the naked eye, upon magnification, you can see the unevenness of each of those pieces. The blind cap unscrews, and there is an extension of the captured converter knob. You can give the feed a bit of a push or even fill your converter with ink without removing the barrel. The cap unscrews with one full turn to reveal a dramatically contoured section of the same acrylic resin and another thin gold band that separates the section from the barrel, and a number 6 size gold-plated steel nib and plastic feed. The nib and the feed are, I assume, friction fit. This shows no sign of being a screw-in nib unit, and I've not tried to pull the nib. Let's take a closer look at this nib. This looks like a Yovo nib to me, with the deeply engraved or stamped Yovo scroll work and the letter B for broad, and the addition of Maiora's logo and the name Maiora laser etched into it. This section requires some discussion. It is something you'll notice immediately upon seeing either the photograph or holding the pen in your hand. This dramatic hourglass shape stands out visually and, more important, physically. I know when I first saw the Leonardo-shaped section, initially on the Moonman M800, it struck me as odd and I didn't know that I would like it. I found out quickly that I love the Leonardo-shaped section and it works well, especially with girthier pens like the Leonardo Grande sizes. I thought the same about this Maiora when I saw it at Applebaum. I figured, well, it doesn't look like I would like that section, but I've been wrong before. Well, I wasn't wrong this time. This section is the single most challenging thing about this Impronte. It looks short, and it looks like it forces your grip rather than being accommodating. It looks and feels short, but surprisingly, the entire length of the section is almost identical to this Leonardo Furore Grande. It is the contour of the sections that is dramatically different and affects your grip. Well, at least my grip, anyway. The barrel unscrews, and we see the captured screw-in converter with the extended gold metal knob that has Maiora made in Italy laser etched on it. Plus the knob is hollow with a hole down the center of it. I assume that is to reduce weight. There's also a notch in the end of that knob right here where the edge of the end of the barrel threads line up, and I assume this is to ensure clearance, so when you unscrew the barrel without removing the blind cap, you don't rotate this knob by accident and shoot ink out of the nib.
Oh, Robbie, I'm so happy!
That's something we saw with the Italics Chaplin's Tankard captured converter just recently. The cap posts deeply and securely and doesn't backweight the pen significantly. The pen is nicely balanced in the hand, posted or unposted. However, this is a thick pen measuring around 15 millimeters at the thickest point on the barrel, right here where my thumb is. And even though I like thick pens, the shape of this short concave section forces my grip. I thought I would just get used to it, and I found if I relaxed my grip more, it is easier, but it is just not as comfortable as the Furore Grande grip, which is also 15 millimeters at the thickest part of the barrel where I have my thumb. I can write for hours with this Grande, where this Impronte starts to get tedious fairly quickly. This pen retails for $275.31 Canadian or $212.16 US on Applebaum, and has 4 nib options, all steel, extra fine, fine, medium, and broad. I got mine for 20% off on Fountain Pen Day. Now let's look at some size comparisons. And here we are with the Maiora Impronte Oversize and a Leonardo Officina Italiana Furore Grande, an Opus 88 Bella, a Moonman M800, and a Platinum President. Now let's look at them posted. And here they are posted, and you can see that the Maiora does an excellent job of posting deeply, and whereas the Grande is significantly longer when it's posted. And now let's look at some measurements, and I'll be back with a writing sample. And we're back with the writing portion of the review. This is Clairefontaine 90 GSM paper, and this is the Maiora Impronte Terra Oversize, and it has a broad steel nib, number 6. And the ink today is Diamine Jack Frost. Here's the swatch for the Jack Frost. It has a lovely red sheen to it and a bit of silver shimmer as well, so it's very festive. And this is Robert Oster Soda Pop Blue. And another one of my favorite sparkling inks is the J. Urbain 1798 Kyanite du Nepal. And let's check the wetness. This pen is very wet. Now I checked the box for having this nib tuned by Applebaum before it was shipped to me, and as you saw in the unboxing, it was obvious that the nib had ink and water in it, so it was definitely looked at. I actually don't think it's possible for retailers to spend that much time with the nib other than to look at the tines under a loupe, put some ink in it, run it across the page to see if it's scratchy or skips, and then rinse it clean. When I wrote with this nib for the first time, I found it wet and glassy and smooth, which is great. However, after writing with it for about a week and a half, it displays what I found with most of my broad nibs, which have a tendency to skip on the tops of downstrokes sort of randomly. This is symptomatic of baby's bottom and seems to be more prevalent on broad nibs. This makes sense as the tipping material on a broad nib forms a larger ball, which increases the possibility of that curved gap. So I'm just going to draw a little picture here for a moment. So here is the ball end tipping material of the tip, and it's split down the center. So when you have a larger circumference, you can end up with a larger curve right down here, and you might end up with that baby's bottom that looks like, I'm not drawing it very well, that does this. So you end up with that gap that looks like a baby's bottom, and when the nib is on the paper, there's that gap right there where the ink should flow.
Could you turn around for a second? Thank you.
And because there's an air gap there, it skips. Now if you press down on the nib a little bit, it brings the ink in contact with the paper and gets the ink to flow. But I think that's what's happening here, and it displays that behavior sort of randomly now and then. It gets a little bit maddening. Now an expert nibmeister like Jack Hernandez would know better than me, but that's my take on it. I've stroked the nib straight down on some 8000 grit paper like this a few times, and it's starting to remove that behavior. So I'm only doing it slowly, and I'm watching its behavior, so I'll do it a couple of times and I'll write with it for a length of time because I don't want to have problems with my nib. As to line variation, there is no pressure, and there is a little bit of pressure, and the nib does flex slightly. It's not a flex nib at all, but there is a little bit of give for a steel nib. But it is steel and not flex. Comparing this line to my Richard Binder chart, it comes out at 0.8 millimeters in thickness, which is a Western broad and a Japanese double broad. And to our quote today, in reverse writing, it tends to catch on that paper, but it does do it, and you get a thin line, and it actually flows fairly well. And some quick writing. That feed has no difficulty keeping up at all. So, what do I like and what do I not like about this fountain pen? Well, let's start with the likes. This acrylic is extraordinary. None of the photos of this pen give you even a clue as to how wonderful this is. The other offerings in this model weren't really thrilling to me, as they come with a solid black cap and an orange acrylic barrel. That's a bit too Halloween-y for me. The clip is nicely designed, and the captured converter, with its solid screw thread connection and extended converter knob access from the back, like the Leonardo, is a really nice feature. I don't fill this pen with this feature, as I tend to fill my cartridge converters with a syringe, but I do use the feature on this pen and my Leonardos when I need to prime the feed a bit while I'm writing. The pen posts deeply and securely, beautifully, and it is exquisitely balanced in the hand, both posted and unposted. And I love the 15mm thickness of this pen. The broad Jowo nib on this pen is wet and smooth, even though it has just a hint of a problem. Which brings me to my dislikes. Starting with the nib. As I mentioned earlier, I suspect that a lot of broad and bigger nibs suffer from this touch of baby's bottom. The larger ball of the tipping material makes them vulnerable to skipping on the downstrokes. At least that's been my experience with 3 of my broad nibs. The first one, a Bach, on my Momento Zero wouldn't write at all, and I had it ground into an Architect Italic by Jack Hernandez. The second, on my Opus 88 Bella, needed some tweaking, and now this one is displaying the same issue, skipping randomly on downstrokes. I also don't like that the nib unit doesn't unscrew, at least that I can tell. I've twisted it, but I don't want to break it. Having a nib unit that screws out makes swapping out the nib very, very simple. And now for the biggest issue I have with this pen, and that is this section. I alluded to it earlier, that the section on this pen forces your grip. The Leonardo Furore Grande is the same thickness in the barrel here, but it doesn't force your grip, and it doesn't press your hand into a particular place. It allows your fingers to move on it.
Let your fingers do the walking.
The Impronte makes my fingers rest right there, and my thumb goes here. And for me, that makes me grip this pen rather than letting it rest in my hand. I find myself pressing with my thumb all the time. So this may be something that's up to your own personal style, because everybody grips their pen differently.
Yes, we are all different. I'm not.
Jack tells me that I hold my pen at a rather high angle, and I expect I do, but that's me. Some pens will adapt to my writing style and allow me to find a comfort spot. Others, yes, I'm looking at you, Lammy, force you to adopt a grip that suits the pen. So once I've tweaked this nib to get rid of that remaining baby's bottom, this pen will write beautifully and looks gorgeous, and yet, I'm sad to say, will probably remain uninked in my collection. And there you have it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get instant notifications whenever a new video is posted. And don't forget to stay tuned next Saturday at the same time, where I will be presenting my top 10 fountain pens of 2020. Something to look forward to. And that just leaves it for me to say, thank you for watching. And that's all she wrote.